Well, good evening on this Wednesday evening. Glad you're here today. Hope you've had a good day. We're going to continue tonight talking about debt, what the Bible has to say about debt. And it has to say quite a bit about it. And so that's what we're trying to cover tonight. And probably next week we'll probably end it. We'll see how it goes on that. We'll begin a word of prayer. And Andy, would you lead some prayer, please? Amen. Some commented after class last week, we gave you a lot of statistics. I mean, this and this and that, and makes you wonder about some of them. Sometimes people lie. Believe it or not, they'll lie. They don't tell the whole truth on things, and they maybe go one way or the other instead of coming into where the middle is. I was listening to Dave Ramsey. He gave a little thing this week, a short talk. And one guy called in, and the average, what we said last week, was 5 credit cards, what the average household has. Well, this guy had 35. Now, that's a lot. He also had almost a $500,000 debt. And a lot of it was on credit cards. But sometimes, people lie. I don't know if 5's right or not. If it's correct right in the middle of somewhere, people do lie about things. You buy some products, and you open up the box, and there's a warranty card, and you fill the warranty card out, and you put the make and model and all that on it. And then sometimes they'll ask you some personal questions. They'll ask you your age, and they'll ask you your income, and sometimes they'll ask you your race. Well, when I fill those out, I always put the highest income that's there and the lowest age that's there. They don't think I'm a 16-year-old multi-millionaire and put some kind of race that nobody ever heard of. I mark that as well. So not everybody's honest in these things. So it may be that some of the things that we saw last week may or may not be, but it's just some of the things you get off the internet. And you certainly know that everything off the internet is right. It's going to be correct. That's what George Washington said. Make sure you use the internet. It's correct. Okay. Tonight we're going to talk about the joy of being out of debt. There's joy in that. There's a relief of that, of knowing that it's mine. It doesn't belong to the bank or the mortgage company or whoever it is that I'm getting the money from. And so it's a joy to send in that last house payment or that last car payment or that last student loan payment, whatever the payment may be. There's a good feeling in knowing that that's paid off and that it's absolutely mine. But some people never have that feeling because they go from one debt to another debt. They get paid off maybe, then they jump right in very quickly and go into another debt for something. Well, I got this extra money here. Well, I'm going to use it somewhere else and go into debt that way. And they never enjoy it, the feeling of being out of debt. On a car loan, they may go and before that car's even paid off, I'm going to get them a new car. So they roll over what they owe in this one and put into this new payment of the new car, and the payment goes higher for more years. 5 years, 6 years, whatever, 7 years now, you got to go for a car payment. Or maybe they'll want to refinance their mortgage, and they may throw some more debt in there. Maybe it's credit card debt. We can get a lower interest rate, so they'll take credit card debt, put it in their mortgage payment. Well, here they are paying for a mortgage, something here, whatever it was they borrowed on, they're paying for it another 15, 20, 30 years, who knows? And they never feel that relief of being out of debt. But it's a good feeling. You have a goal I'm going to be out of debt at a certain time. I'm going to sacrifice. I'm going to stay away from some of these things and put it toward that debt. And maybe tonight we get to some of those. So it's the joy of being out. That's a good feeling to have. And stay out as long as you can. There's also something about debt accountability. Are both spouses aware of the debt? You would think, well, certainly they're both aware. No. They may not be aware. Both of them may not be aware of it. In many households, one spouse handles the finances and the other one has no idea. No idea what's there. Just know it's okay. Got any money? Yeah, okay. Got any money? Okay. One spouse handles all that. So it may be that they're not accountable to one another. Well, Ecclesiastes 4 and verse 9 says, 2 are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. Something wrong? Well, go down to the blank page. Yeah, go to about page 15. We'll catch up here in a minute. Yeah, it's last week's, but go to the blank page. I highlighted that, somewhere in there. We'll give Kurt a moment here to catch up. See the blank page, about 15? Okay, all right. We're in. Well, on page 16, that's where it says Ecclesiastes 4:9, or 2 are better than one. Sometimes one spouse will get a load of credit cards and the other will never know about it. And all of a sudden something happens and the spouse that didn't know there was so much debt finds out about it. And then problems start. Marriage problems. The guilty, or innocent, wants to know, where did the money go? What was it spent on? And the one that did all the spending, I don't know. Oh yeah, you know. Who was it spent on? And it happens, and one begins to think, well, you must have been spending it on somebody else. A mistress or a boyfriend, girlfriend, or something like that. And it just gets blown out of proportion here because you don't know where the money went, who it was spent on. That's why 2 are better than one. If there is a debt there, both need to be aware of it so they both can work on it. And they realize this is where we're at and this is what we need to do to handle it. So that is debt accountability. It's a good thing to have when it comes to just paying something off, understanding our debt and taking care of it. Now, when it comes to finances, Satan has some strategies that he uses in trying to trick us. For example, inferiority. If I don't have this, I will not be accepted or I'm not as good. That's something that Satan wants to try to influence us with. I got to have it. I got to have this to be accepted. How many advertisements a day does the average person see? Advertisements. In a day. The time you wake up, the time you go to sleep, in your travels during the day, how many advertisements a day do you see? Average. Would you believe 300? And that's just not including, we think, well, television. I don't watch that much television. Well, how many advertisements are in each commercial break? And then if you listen to the radio, there's going to be advertisements there telling you need this. You drive down the road, you're going to have billboards. You don't really notice them, but they're there to influence you. You need to have this. You drive by a particular business and they got a sign up having a great sale here. You need this. 300 a day. That's about what we come across. Well, Satan uses that to try to tell us that you need this in order to fit in. But don't let that strategy of Satan Don't fall for that. Or resentment. I'm just as good as they are. Why can't I have it too? Again, the social media really pushes that. Look what I have. Don't you wish you had it? And Satan uses it, trying to get a hold of us. Or what about guilt? I will substitute my guilt feelings of not spending time with spending money. I will buy their happiness. I'll buy their love. So I don't have time. I'm always making this, got to have the cycle of making money to buy things. I don't spend the time with my children, my family as I should. But what I'll do, I'll make money and give them money so they can spend the money. But I got to keep working in order to buy their happiness. Satan have that guilt about us sometimes, a guilt feeling. But I got to make this money, keep them happy. Or fear. I cannot be a success unless I have this. A workaholic may have this attitude because they tie success to money. The more money I make, the better I am, the more successful I am. But don't let Satan use these financial strategies to cause us to get in a greater debt than we should be because of what it can do to harm us. Here's a couple of verses on this. Proverbs 15:16. Better is a little with fear of the Lord than great treasure with trouble. Great treasure with trouble. I got all this, I got troubles. And Solomon said again in Ecclesiastes 5:12, the sleep of a laboring man is sweet, whether he eats little or much, but the abundance of the rich will not permit him to sleep. We covered this a couple of weeks ago. We went through Ecclesiastes. One thing that really bothered Solomon is how he couldn't sleep at night. For everything he had to take care of it, make sure everything was done. He had all these employees and building things. And what made him mad was that the man who has nothing sleeps better than I do. I have all this, and I can't sleep. But the man who has nothing, he sleeps like a baby. And that bothered Solomon. So, again, a couple of verses there that show that just great treasure, great wealth can permit a person from sleeping. You can get to them. Here's something here, a stat. 1969 versus 2025. In 1969, the average household income was $3,500. The mother stayed at home and cared for 2 children. House payment and car payment were paid monthly out of this $3,500. Today, that $3,500 is equivalent to $40,000 in 2025. Now, in 1969, Dad worked, and Mom stayed home. 2 kids, house payment, car payment. They had money. Today, can the mom stay home with 2 children with a house payment and a car payment and make it on $40,000? $40,000, you got to take taxes out of that, and it gives you in the low 30s, I guess. Can you make it? What's happened? What's caused this? Can we say inflation? Well, yeah, it has a part to do with it, something to do with it, but a lot has to do with greed, I think, over the years. Maybe back in the 1960s, businesses, or I say business, mainly large companies, they weren't as money hungry as they are today. And they put the nation to a test. That's what they do. If you'll pay $100 for this today, what's the odds of you paying $105 for it next week? Will you do that? They put it out there, and sure enough, people want it. They pay $105 for it. Well, if they'll pay $105 for it, in a couple of weeks, let's see if they'll pay $110 for it. Well, sure enough, they are, and it goes up. The price goes up, but your pay doesn't. It's a greed of that many times that the financial world has, that causes things to get out of whack. And does it ever get back in whack? I don't know. But as we know, a family today will be stressed to live on $40,000. Very stressed, with a house payment, with a car payment. It'd be a very difficult thing to do. But today, the wife has to work in order to have things. Children have to go to daycare, and they're being raised by daycare. We probably have more house than we can afford. We have 2 vehicles in the carport because, Dad's got to go one way, Mom's got to go the other. But then again, here comes the kids, and we got to give them a car as soon as they get their license. And sometimes we have it in the carport even before they ever get their license, ready for them. What have we done? We're putting ourselves in this situation. Again, the strategies that Satan has put before us, they seem to be working. And that's one reason why in 1969, the average household was 2.5 kids, and today it's 1.6. We just can't afford them. Or maybe our goal is more on having things than it is having children or having a family. Satan's financial strategies are working. They're working. How soon will it be before we tell our children, well, if you want this, you got to get a job. Mom and Dad can't afford it. So here goes the kid. They want a vehicle because everybody else has a vehicle. And they get them a job after school. Maybe they work. Or maybe on the weekends. And they can't work because they're going to school. So it may be a Saturday, Sunday thing that they begin to work. And the employers that hire children on Saturday and Sunday, they do it. That's when they're going to work. That's when they're going to work them. And the child says, I got to work because I got to pay for this. And especially when it comes to Sunday, they work, and guess what happens to church? It's gone. Satan's strategies are working. They'll dangle this shiny object in front of everybody, thinking they got to have it in order to be somebody. So it works. It's working. So 1969 versus today, a lot of differences in what's going on, how it works. When it comes to debt and borrowing, the Bible has a lot to say about it. Again, Proverbs 22:7, the rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. The Bible says it's better to not have to borrow. It's no sin if you have to borrow, but there comes with warnings to it. And remember, when you borrow, you become a servant to the lender. You've got to serve that individual. You've got to pay the lender off. Deuteronomy 15:6, for the Lord your God will bless you just as he promised you. You shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. You shall reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over you. God did not want the Jewish people to borrow money. He wanted the other nations, to come to them and borrow the money. He didn't want them to borrow. And that was God's intentions for them, for this to happen. He didn't want them to be enslaved to other nations. So it's not yours, remember, until it's paid for. God gave instructions to Israel, here's what you do. There's other restrictions God put on this, like Exodus 22:25. If you lend to any of my people who are poor among you, you shall not be like a moneylender to them. You shall not charge them interest. So for the people of Israel, if they did borrow, if the Jewish people borrowed from the Jewish people, you didn't charge them interest. God wouldn't let it. That don't happen. Now those outside of Israel, you could charge them interest, but you couldn't charge your own people. In Deuteronomy 15:7 and 8, if if there is among you a poor man of your brethren within any of the gates in your land, which the Lord your God has given you, you should not harden your heart nor shut your hand from your poor brother. But you shall open your hand wide to him and willingly lend him sufficient for his need, whatever he needs. What God is trying to develop here among Israel is a money service culture and not a money hungry culture. Use your money to serve, to do good with, and not just money hungry. That's what he's trying to get across to Israel, how they are to use their wealth. Then we come to the New Testament, Acts 20, verse 35. I have shown you in every way by laboring like this that you must support the weak. And remember the words of the Lord Jesus, that he said it is more blessed to give than to receive. Use the blessings that God has given us to help others, is what he's saying. Do that. So don't become money hungry. Be an individual that wants to use the blessings that you've been given to help others, to bless others. Now, here's some indulgent spending. There's some things that we really have to have. What about movie subscriptions? Now, this is Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, and all that kind of stuff. You know, they got it figured out. You see, I sure like to see this movie, but it's not on Netflix, and that's where I got my subscription with. This other one has it, so they want you to get their subscription. And they take these movies, the more popular ones, and divide them up. They don't put them on just one. They want every penny you got, so you can watch a movie. Indulgent spending. Movie subscriptions can be gotten rid of. And many people don't know how many they do have. Personalized checks. If you still write checks, why not use the standard check that the bank furnishes instead of having your initials and logo and all that kind of stuff put on it? So that's nothing. That's just a change. But it all begins to add up a little bit. Personalized car tags. Why not just use the car tag the county gives instead of putting your name and initials and all this kind of stuff on there, which costs more. P.O. Box. Of course, you may live in a place where your mail is stolen on a regular basis, so you got to have a P.O. Box. Well, that's a little bit of cost. But if you let them deliver it to your house, do that. I don't understand how, like some people live almost to Millport, we'll say between here and Millport, and they have a P.O. Box in Vernon. I don't know, maybe a lot of crime in different areas. I don't know. Supersize, if you go to a restaurant somewhere, why do you got to pay an extra $1 or so to supersize? Water instead of tea with meals. How much is a glass of tea now? $3.50 probably. Well, I like tea. That's fine. But just understand that if you're wanting to see where your money's going, that may be where some of it's going. Water, in most places, it costs nothing. Some people will charge you 50 cents for a glass of water now. Or sinful habits. Some just habits that are sinful, I need to get rid of. Lay them aside. More indulgent spending. I got to have a new car every 3 to 5 years. Well, it loses value. We know when you drive it off the lot. You get the new car, your insurance is going to be higher. Why not purchase used instead of new? And remember, a car is for transportation. It is not a status symbol. Many buy what they buy because of a status symbol. It's for transportation. Upgrade your phones every year. Do you really need to do that? Uh, it doesn't boost your productivity. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help you make more money. It still does the same thing, text or call. Gym memberships, you could do that outside around your own house. Probably plenty of places to walk. Brand name clothing, you have to have the brand name. There's cheaper out there. Massive TVs, entertainment systems. They say the bigger the TV is, the more you sit on the couch. I pay for it, that's why I want to watch. Eating out instead of cooking at home, we saw that last week. I think around $45 a week family spends on eating out. Prices have gone up eating out. Servings are smaller. It's poor quality. You need to go with low expectations. McDonald's reported this week that their profit margin was down. So they're going to keep that $5 meal for the rest of 2025, trying to get people to come in and buy. Okay. House furnishings. You really got to have it. If you have it, you probably got to finance it to get it. Or keeping up with friends who overspend. A lot of social pressure there. Don't let your friends put you in debt. Don't do that. More indulgent spending, vacations on credit cards. You don't get one paid off until you got another one put on it. Sometimes interest payments last longer than the memories. Lottery tickets, that's a person's retirement plan, they think. Better odds in investing than going out and buying a lottery ticket. Celebrating raises by upgrading your lifestyle. I think I used this illustration at some point. The lady who got a promotion at work, and within the next day or two, her and her husband go out and buy a new vehicle, and then the promotion fell through about a month later. Here they are stuck with it. Bad. Why not put that money back somewhere? Or costly toys for children. Sometimes we think our children are more mature than they are. The toy says for children 12 and older. Our child's 7-year-old. Hey, our child needs it. He can handle it. She can handle it. And we get it for them, and sure enough, for 12 and older, they pay it no attention. And with all the tariffs going on, Mattel, who makes a lot of toys, Mattel, they're staying in China. They're not coming to America. Here's some verses to think about. Isaiah 55:2. Why do you spend your money for what is not bread, and your wages for what does not satisfy? Listen carefully to me and eat what is good, and let your soul delight itself in abundance. Just be careful what we're spending it on. Be careful with it. Matthew 6:31 through 32, the 33. Therefore do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what we shall drink, or what we shall wear? After these things the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. All these things shall be added to you. God's going to take care of us. He will. It may not be name brand, all the stuff that we have. If we put our faith in him, trust in him, do what he says, we won't miss a meal. And we'll have a place to lay our head down and a shelter over us at night. He'll take care of us. Let's don't get out here and be wasteful of the blessings that God has given us. Anything, comments? All right, we'll take up next week on what the Bible has to say about debt.